Good morning, Turfs Up Radio. Wayne Voles, Profits Unlimited, coming to you live from Louisville, Kentucky. Yes, indeedy. Oh, my goodness. We got a great day going on. Sun's out. Going to be kind of toasty out there this day, this week. And who knows after that. We're going to have Brett Waltz on with us today from BAM Weather. Looking forward to getting Brett on here with us. It's always exciting to have those guys on, but Brett's going to hop on here about, I don't know, a few minutes with us this morning and talk to us about what's going on in the weather world. So looking forward to that. Can y'all believe it? Here we are. We've rode around again to another Monday. Here we are. Hope your Monday, hope your week's starting off good. Got a call from a buddy of mine, John Stuber. John, hope you're listening to us. And John's got a dog kennel business that he's into. But yeah, he got him a new lawnmower, got him a 61-inch Ferris rider for that lawn. And I told him, I said, man, I know one thing for sure, your butt's gonna be in better shape. So he's got a much more comfortable ride than he's been used to. But yeah, he's looking forward to using that, and actually he already has a little bit and loving it. Seth, appreciate you hopping on with us, my friend. Good to have you. Good to have you in with us. We got a great day going on. We're out and about doing our lawn and landscaping thing today. Hopefully you are too. Got a little mowing going on. But before we get into all that, hope you guys had a great weekend. Absolutely. We had a great weekend. When I say we, Wayne did, and Tabitha and I, and Katie and a bunch of us got together, and Daniel, and we had a group. Went and did some pickleball Saturday. And if you guys have not played that, it is pretty daggone fun. I'm just going to say that. If you know, I know you probably got a zillion things that you're into doing and that you do, but I'm just here to tell you, man, it was an outstanding. It was better than I anticipated it was going to be. Number one, and it was. I walked away without any injury. We did have one injury, 1 foot injury. Alyssa, Katie's friend, yeah, she walked away with a little bit of a foot injury / pain in the foot or whatever, but she'll be okay. She'll be okay. We'll get her recovered and get her back out there on the court. But I'll tell you, man, it's really a fun game. If you haven't had a chance to do it, you owe it to yourself to try it. We went to this thing that they call Pickleball 101. It was a free introductory class inside pickleball, so it was cool. You still got a good sweat on, but it was air conditioned in there, you know. So I don't know. We went for about 2 hours, I think. I don't know for sure. It was at least an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes, but the class itself was about an hour. And you think, well, you know, I mean, how long does it take an hour to learn how to play pickleball? Absolutely not. It's just a combination game between tennis, ping pong, and I don't know. I'd even throw badminton in there probably. Uh, but it was just really fun and had a good time. I came away with no injuries. A little bit of back, uh, uh, not ache, but like on my right side it's like a little bit of a backache. Let's just call it a lower little bit of backache. But it went around picking a bunch of balls up too, you know. So because when we were going through the training on, you know, like how to score, how to keep score, that you know the hardest part of the whole thing was trying to keep straight like the serving, yeah, Katie said the serving aspect, because different from most sports where like if you're serving and or doing whatever, if you're on offense, if you lose the ball or the point or whatever, however you want to look at it, you know, the next team is on offense. Well, in pickleball, you both get a chance to serve. So like if you and I are playing, you know, I serve, and then when we don't score on my point, then you get to serve as my partner. So that side of it was a little bit unique to get used to and keep up with that. You'd have to announce it like, okay, you'd have to say the score. Let's say the score was 10-5, and I'm server number one. I'd say 10-5-1, meaning that server number one. I don't know. Maybe it just keeps the game honest on who's serving and what the score is, but you got to do that on every point. I don't know if there was a penalty. They didn't say about a penalty if you don't announce the score in server. I think they gave us a little bit of leeway with our first first course, but it was really fun. There were six of us in our group that went to this pickleball 101, and we had two additional people that joined in there for the class. So between the eight of us, we had a yeah, two, four, six, or seven, wasn't it? Yeah, and we Sherry, my sister, went as an observer, which was pretty cool. But yeah, we had I know, Mike, I hear you. It's not as hard as it sounds, man. Basically, it's ping pong is what it amounts to. You have to serve cross court, but it's really fun. It was really fun. We had a great time, and looking forward to going back, and doing it again. Uh, Sunday, that was Saturday, and we did that Saturday afternoon late. I think our our class, if you will, we were pickleball 101 graduates. I will say that. So, oh my God, would you do it again, Katie? Yeah, she said yes. But Katie and I are very competitive, and we're pretty good, pretty good. Good morning, Smoking Joe. Appreciate you listening to us, man. Glad to let me know that you're here with us. But uh, you know what? It's funny. Mike asked, where do pickles come into play? They really don't. But it was funny. Last night, Tabitha was looking up the origin of the name, and Jesus, she told me, and I can't remember what it was. The people that invented the game, it's basically the game was invented as a game of misfits, if you will. Um, I do remember that part of it. And the people that invented the game or, put the rules to the game together, whatever you want to call it, they did have a dog named Pickles, but that does not where the origin came from. So, but Mike says, yeah, but he drinks a lot of pickle juice after hockey games. Yeah, for cramping. I've heard that's good for cramping. I got a buddy of mine, Charlie Hardesty, and he talks about drinking pickle juice, Mike. So, yeah. Otherwise, I would think you were joking about that. But we had a great time with it, and yesterday was just a chill out day. Went up and watched a little softball. One of the guys that works here with us, they were in a softball tournament, so I went up there to be playing in Frankfurt. So in Tabitha, we went up there to see her grandkids yesterday. So went by and watched a little softball, and she did the grandkid thing, and that was pretty cool watching softball. Those guys play softball. I don't know why they call it softball. It's nothing soft about it. I mean, it's very competitive. The ball's hard as hell, and at least as hard as baseball. But that was really, really, really cool too. Watching that again, and then had something really. Oh, there's my buddy. Let's get him on. Brett. Let's see. Hello. Let's see, Brett. How you doing, my friend?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Good. It's great to have you on. We have Brett Waltz on with us with BAM Weather. Yes, indeedy. So, hey, it's hot, man. It's hot.
That is the story, isn't it? It's hot, it's miserable, isn't it? With the humidity being so high with it, it's not just a dry heat. It is a muggy and hot and humid and probably dangerous if you're out too long working in it.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm sure am glad it's not raining though right now. Now we might be calling you guys and putting a request in for some rain, but right now it's just nice not to be raining. I mean, Lord.
Yeah, it's just such an active spring and early summer. I just hasn't felt like until this week that we've had extended amounts of dry time. And I know I was looking last week for Indiana and Kentucky. It's been, I think, the top three in the last 20 plus years, most active in terms of severe weather reports as well.
Isn't that something? Yeah, I saw that thing you guys put out, with the severe weather things in different
Yeah,
states, and I was like, dang, I knew it was bad, man, but it's been bad a lot of places, hasn't it? So,
it has. Yeah, and I think wind too. We had the tornadoes early in the season, but that cluster that went through last week and how wet the soil has been, just so many downed trees and power poles and whatnot. So the combination of certainly some problems.
what do you think? What causes this the spring, if you will? I'll call it the spring. What do you
Sure.
guys think from a meteorological standpoint? Caused it to just keep going and going and going and going? And is it finished? Or I saw where like the upper Midwest is going to have some heavy rain potentially on that map you guys put out. So is it
Yeah.
finished? Are we going into more of a summer pattern, or what's your all's thoughts?
I think that in terms of it being so consistent and so persistent, and maybe even excessive to an extent, I think that maybe we're past the worst of it. But I don't necessarily think that we're going into a pattern where it just shuts off. I think that ahead, we've got this dry window here, but as we get into the first week of July, I think that more widespread rain and storm chances pick back up. I think that there could be more severe weather potential as well. And so I don't see it as a pattern that completely goes away, but maybe, it's a little bit more on and off, if you will, where it trends towards the Midwest and then it comes back into the Ohio Valley and there's some back and forth as we go into July.
How's our for our listeners up in the Northeast and the Atlantic coast? What are they looking like? From the Carolinas on up the coast, up into New York and Maine and like that.
Yeah.
Same thing, or
Yeah, I think that, gosh, in the short term, that's the area that's seeing all kinds of record breaking heat highs in the mid to upper 90s out there. So, notable heat in the short term there. As we get this warmth to relax a little bit as we start out July, I do think that those are some of the areas that can see more frequent severe weather. To me, for most of the eastern half of the country, it doesn't really look like a pattern to me that sees consistent quiet time. And I think that we also have bouts of heat heading into July. So I think it's a kind of a similar pattern out there to what we'll be experiencing around here.
good deal, good deal. Hey, like I said, right now I'm happy just to have the sun out more than
Sure.
4 hours at a time. Um, how about your other agricultural interests? Your else customers, are they glad to see some sun, or are they going to say, "Man, we need some rain too"? I mean, what do you got? What kind of feedback you getting across the industries with this weather?
Yeah, I think in the eastern belt, kind of Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, I think that some of this dry time is probably helpful. It might be a little too late, to be
Okay.
honest, because I know there was late planting, right? Where there was late planting because of how active that it was. But I do think that for some of the areas that have been waterlogged and maybe had standing water in fields and whatnot, this pattern is probably beneficial. I think that further to the west, Nebraska, Iowa, those are some areas that at times throughout spring had drier stretches, had lower soil moisture, and so that's where the rain is in the short term. And so I would say that that's a benefit for them. And so all things considered, I don't see major red flags right now. I think that it's good news for a lot of areas. I think that down the road it could maybe trend drier in the western plains, so that'll be maybe a concern area that could get drier in the extended range. But for now, all things considered, it's not all that bad.
I gotcha. Doug, one of our listeners, just chimed in, sent me a text. He said, "Yeah, they're behind." He's in Pennsylvania, and he said they're behind on planning in Pennsylvania.
Sure. Yeah.
Uh, hey, well, I got a question for you. My son's going to Montana Wednesday for vacation for about 4 or 5 days, and I saw and they're going to Glacier National Park.
Oh yeah.
I see where those guys are going to have snow, man. I just saw that this morning. They were talking like a potential
Yeah.
snowstorm in Montana. What have you had a chance to take a look at that? And what's that look like, really?
I think that it's one of those deals where in those higher elevation areas that you really can't rule out it any time of the year. It's colder than normal out there this week. That's part of the reason it's so wet in the Midwest. The Midwest this week is because it's pretty cold out there compared to normal, certainly for June standards. but it's warm east, right? And so you combine the gradient in temperatures with the moisture potential, and that's what you get up there in those higher elevation areas. Sometimes you can get snow all year round out there. I don't necessarily think that pattern sticks around. I do think into July that's an area that starts to get hotter. So I don't know how long he's going to be there, but
Yeah, just about 4 days. Yeah, not long.
okay, yeah. So he's hitting it right at the right time to see snow if he wants to in the glaciers. uh,
Who'd have
but
thunk it, right? But in the
yeah,
June, first part of July, and you're going to see snow up there.
it's a different
Oh,
world out there.
goodness gracious. But what do you guys see the summer shaping up to be for just regionally and across the country? Are we going to be wet? You got think we're going to be wetter than normal, or what do you think?
The kind of the original idea I think we talked about back in stuff, maybe March or April even, was that the middle of the country could be hotter and drier. And I think
Right.
the heat there, I think that we're starting to see the heat pick up now. The first week of June wasn't all that warm, but we're starting to see the heat. And so I still think that that's there. I think it's a hotter than normal summer as a whole. Is it the hottest summer ever? I don't necessarily think so, but I do think it's a hot summer compared to normal.
So that's still on track to get hot, and I
Yeah.
got you.
I think the heat is still there. I don't see as many concerns in terms of precipitation as we had initially thought. Part of the reason for that is because the waters in the Gulf and off the east coast of the U.S. have gotten so warm that we're getting more high pressure to situate there, which means we're getting Gulf moisture to come further to the north. So it's supplying us with moisture. And so, again, I don't really see a major concern right now for drought, especially if you're in the Ohio Valley and in the southeastern part of the country up the East Coast. I think that maybe late summer, again, parts of the plains could start to get a little bit drier, but it doesn't look to be as dire as maybe what initially some of the data and the analogs had indicated. And that's just because of that trend in ocean temperatures.
I got you. All right. Well, it's let me tell you from our perspective as a lawn service here in our
Sure.
part of the country, we like it to get a little bit dry,
Mm-hmm.
especially as we hit that August time frame. Get people thinking about aeration, overseeding. When we
Sure.
when we have an ample amount of rain and yards are green and everything's looking good, it tends to be a little bit of an off year for us from a seeding standpoint. So you never can
Sure.
make your customers happy, right? I mean, just too
It
much
is
rain, not
hard to
enough rain.
Yeah, it's hard to please everyone, but I will tell you from that perspective, the heat, when you get these dry stretches, even if they're relatively brief, 4 or 5 days or so, from a lawn perspective, I've got new sod in my yard. It can still cause some problems, even if we're not technically in a drought, when you
Right.
combine the heat with a little bit of the dry stretches. So I don't think that you will be without business this summer.
Good deal. Well, that is, when you mention that, Brett, that is so true. The good thing about this rain is for all the landscaping that we've done, we haven't had
Mhm.
to worry about our customers watering, I
Sure.
mean, which, it's, and I don't know why it is. Maybe you can help me understand this a little bit. And if not, I'm not trying to throw you under the bus on this. I'm really not. But
You're good.
why does it seem like a half inch of rainwater is much better than 2 inches of spigot water going on lawns? Is the, what does the what are they what's pulling down out of the atmosphere that's much better for turf and plants when we get real rain versus city rain, as I call it, water coming out of an
Sure.
irrigation system?
Sure. I'm going to speculate a little bit. My speculation would be that it's just the steady nature of the rain. If you think about like a thunderstorm, you think about a thunderstorm where you get an inch of rain in about 10 minutes, not normally as effective long term as if you get a steady, longer duration rain that rains the same amount. And so I think there's a little bit to be said about the duration and the frequency of rain. I think that it's one of those things. I don't 100% know all the science behind the rain falling versus the spigot or the sprinkler system, if you will, in terms of, rate
Right.
of liquid coming out. But I think it's just one of those things where it's hard to beat nature sometimes, right?
Yes.
And obviously nature causes problems sometimes too, no doubt about it. But when it works the way that it's supposed to, I don't think that there's anything better than it in terms of just the steadiness of it, the persistency of it. I'm sure there's something to be said about the raindrop size and all that stuff too.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, anything else? You got any words of wisdom on any storms coming up that we need to be aware of?
I don't see any major storms right now. We'll start to pick up kind of your summertime pop-up thunderstorm risk this week, but that won't be all that widespread. I think that maybe the time frame to watch will be late this week and early next week across the Ohio Valley as kind of this heat starts to slowly break down.
All
Might need
right.
to watch for some stronger to severe storm risk, but that's a way out. Something to at least keep an eye on down the road.
All right. Well, certainly we will. And I know you guys at BAM Weather will keep us updated, right? You always do. So,
Yeah, absolutely. Our team's working on that all the time, and Matt especially has moved into a focus of really looking at timing out storms for clients and issuing advanced alerts and all that fun stuff. So, more than anything, we're just trying to keep people updated even further ahead of time.
well, I'll say you guys do a great job for us here at Wayne's Lawn Service, man. And if you guys, I don't, you all make running our business a lot easier. Let me say that, just
All right.
from the crew standpoint, it's just,
Yeah.
you can have everything in play, but then, well, you get a goofy forecast from not you guys, but from what we used to listen to, local and whatever, and trying to be meteorologists ourselves and say, okay, well, 30% chance of rain, but I mean, before noon is not a good forecast for us. I mean, if we need to know,
Yeah.
do we have 2 hours or do we have 20 minutes, and
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
a big difference. So I appreciate all the help you guys have given us over the years with accurate forecasting. And I'll be the first one to say it. Nobody's going to be 100%, and I don't want to
Sure.
paint the sky too blue. No pun intended on you guys being perfect because you're not, but you're much better than anything we've experienced and we've had some different weather services over our 46 years, and I'm not throwing any of them under the bus, but you guys have been really great for us, and I would certainly recommend your all service to any of our listeners, 100%. So,
Well, I certainly appreciate that, and yeah, nobody's ever going to be perfect, and we'll admit when we're wrong. But the big thing is just the detail, right? You
yeah.
can't get that much detail from an app, and then you kind of have to guess and average out all the different ideas, and we're just trying to make things simple for people to not have to stress about decisions.
Oh,
Time is money, right? So
oh,
trying to save some
absolutely.
people time.
And it's
Uh,
great to be able to text you guys and say, hey, what do you think? You can text you all 4 in the morning and say, hey, do we need to have our cruise report at 6:30 or wait till 9? And you'll give us your best opinion of that. That's what we appreciate.
yeah, absolutely. Well, we're happy to do that.
There's
It's fun.
great value in that. Well, hey, Brett, thanks for hopping on, man. As always, we appreciate you guys at BAM Weather and recommend, and people still sign up for like a trial like y'all had going on there at bamwx.com.
Yeah, if you go to bamwx.com and you click Get Instant Access in the top right, it'll take you to a page where you can look at our different package options and sign up for a 7-day free trial.
Yep, that clarity y'all have had it. Say recently, now it's been around a while, but that clarity is an opportunity, man. I really like that as well. Just more feedback for you.
Yeah,
So,
appreciate that.
all right, well, good deal, Brett. We look forward to having you on again sometime, man. We'll reach out.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much, Wayne.
All right, thanks, Brett. Have a great day, and you guys stay safe and stay hydrated.
Yeah, stay cool.
All right, man. We'll see you.
See ya.
All right, bye. All right. That was Brett Waltz with BAM Weather. You guys need to check them out. It's simply bamwx.com. Those guys are really good at what they do. So, with that being said, we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back with more Profit Time here on Turfs Up Radio, your industry, your station. But hey, I did want to give my very best friends, Robin and Tim Hamilton, uh, big shout out. They're going to be grandparents again. So they found out the other day they got a grandson coming in January. So just thought I'd give them a big shout out. I know that's going to be awesome. They get their first one is about a year old. I think creeping in on a year, getting close to a year, and so yeah, it's the water out there. It's that water out there in Central Kentucky, I guess. Bringing that on. But yeah, looking forward to, or I'm sure they're looking forward to that happening and January getting here pretty quick. Now, I'm kind of waiting on. Uh, we got a lot of things going on prior to that, so um, that's obviously very, very important. But they got a daughter that's getting married prior to that, and then Daniel is getting married in October. So we're going to be busy this fall and early winter. So, uh, Doug, appreciate you guys shooting your text in here for us as well. And I don't. I just saw your text, Doug, on the bottom part of your text. I'll ask them about that if there's any correlation and what that's going to be looking like. So we're looking forward to a good winter around here again. I know that. So it kind of does seem to run cyclical, you know. So we'll see how all that pans out. But here we are, June 23rd, and finally getting a first dry week we've had. I don't even remember the last time we had a dry week per se, you know. So this is, I guess this is what it's going to be. So John Stuber says, "Can I get an advanced alert from them?" Uh, Weather-wise, you can get just about anything you want from them, John. They're rocking and rolling. They've actually got a consumer schedule as well, so that you could get in on, and I think you'd like for sure. So, Fred, appreciate you sending the video in on that as well. So, yeah, I appreciate all the input this morning from you guys. As we get into our show today, want to give my buddy Smoking Joe a shout out in Central Kentucky as well. Listen to us. I was dropping off. Tabitha had one of her granddaughters. She was dropping off yesterday in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky. And who do we run into but Smoking Joe doing some mowing on Sunday, getting caught up a little bit. So it was really neat seeing him out and talk to him for a few minutes. I didn't stay too long with him because I know what it's like when you're out there, man. You're humping it out on a Sunday, trying to get caught up a little bit, and last thing you want to do is sit there and talk. So, but it was really cool pulling in, seeing him mowing, and I did have to talk to him for just a couple minutes. So, yeah, it was nice getting to see you yesterday, Joe. So, with that being said, I'm sure you got your day taken care of yesterday, and moving along. Here we are into Monday, and our shows have been going, rocking and rolling all day today. So, Aaron, great show. Eric and Jennifer had a great show this morning. I want to give a shout out to Eric Jones and prayers for his mother. So, our listeners out there, if you guys uh, are inclined to send prayers, his mom could use some right now. So we'll leave it at that, and hopefully she'll be taken care of. So did want to give him a big shout out and her a big shout out, and um, nothing worse than somebody that you love and care for, and in a situation, So we'll leave it at that. Eric can share what he wants to share on that situation, but I know they would appreciate any of your all's prayers. Go a long way. So they also had a good segment on their show where they were talking about um, the relationships and how they met. They're getting married Saturday, and I think, well, Wayne, what in the world's that got to do with anything? Well, they were talking about what makes a good relationship and about commitment and whatnot. And I think we look at our businesses in a very similar way. What makes a good business, and it's relationships and commitment. So I don't know. That was my takeaway in listening to that. I always, me, I always try to convert things that I hear and listen, and and like, hey, how does that apply to my business? And so yeah, that was my takeaway with that. That and Jennifer brought up a really good point that a good spouse in any business, not just a relationship, but um, men, women, whatever. But you got to. It takes a good, understanding spouse or partner uh, to make that successful. And if you missed that episode, certainly go back and check it out and listen to it. So, um, but what I wanted to talk a little bit about today was, and Brett touched on a little bit. We're not going to belabor the point too much, but I do feel obligated since this is our first real heat wave for a lot of us across the country. I know my buddy Sean and them down in Florida, they've been hot for a while and humid for a while down there. But, it's, first and foremost, stay hydrated. Keep yourself hydrated, well hydrated. Very important that you have, and me and Daniel touched on this a little bit the other day as well, but it's, I don't think you spend too much time on safety when it comes to heat, and, mowing a little bit higher to help, protect the grass just a little bit and start a little bit earlier in the morning if you can. I know a lot of you guys like to, sleep in a little bit, but hey, maybe, when it's like this, go ahead and get started. I know when I got up and left to come to work this morning, it's about 10 after 6, quarter after 6. And when I pulled out my driveway, my neighbor was out mowing. I mean, had about it, and he was push mowing, but he had about half of his yard done already. And it was not even 6:30 in the morning. So, um, but in our situation, when I say ours, yours and mine as a commercial landscape company, there's certain properties we can do, certain properties we can. If you're all residential, you probably don't want to be on those properties at that time of the morning. But if you've got properties that you can get involved in early on, when it's hot like this, we do. We try to start earlier and finish earlier. And I think that's true that, John. Let's see. I can only imagine what the rest of this says. He said it's a degree hotter than the sun there where he's at now. So it is. It's that first time it gets hot, it takes a little bit of acclimation, but the main thing is stay hydrated, mow a little higher, start earlier, finish earlier, take a few breaks, and also know that production's going to be different. So, and whether that's you doing it or whether that's crews, uh, you know, bring your expectations down just a little bit on production expectations when it gets like this outside, because there's nothing worse than somebody that's either gets sick or even worse because of something that could have been taken care of just by being a little bit smarter in how you're going to work in the heat, and taking your breaks and just making sure that because one thing for sure, that the job's always going to be there. And if you lose a customer because of heat, it's kind of like losing one because of rain. You're just doing what's best for everybody generally. And I think that's the thing that sometimes, as business owners, especially new businesses, we're a little bit slow on the uptake on. Realizing that, okay, let's live the fight another day with it, because the temperature extremes a lot of times are short lived. Now we know that hey, summer's going to be hot and winter's going to be cool generally, or cold, but there's extremes on both sides of that. You know, um, Corey, glad to hear that. Corey said, yeah, man, he just took a 30 minutes in front of a client's house, uh, took a little break in between, I mean, it beats falling out, because you got yourself to think about, you got your employees to think about, you got your family to think about. And this is no specific order, but certainly take care of yourself first, because if you're not taking care of yourself, you ain't gonna have to worry about taking care of anybody else. So, but make sure that your team members understand that hey, it's okay. it's okay to take some breaks. Now, I can hear some of you guys thinking, God, then they're going to be lazy, the rest of the summer. No, they're not. No, they're not. They're going to appreciate the fact that you care, that you care. And there's a lot of things going around right now that are causing employees sick days anyway. You know, uh, Corey just brought something up to my attention where, he's got a worker that's out sick with a whole lot of chest congestion going on. And who knows what it is, if it's not just in that particular case, but, you know, um, last week we had a little bit of that. So, I mean, it's a little bit of everything, I mean, whether it's weather related, health related, you know, uh, allergy related, there's always going to be something, but know that, hey, let's just live to fight another day. And, speaking of it getting warm, there's one other thing that I want to talk about that's always fun. And that's depending on how hot it gets and how dry it gets. But I was looking at some social media platforms, and some guys were already talking about, adjusting their schedules. And if that's appropriate, then, that's appropriate. I can't imagine at this point, I'll speak specifically just for my market because that's what I know about and know how wet it is and how green it is and moisture content. But I don't think we're skipping at any point yet. Uh, and that goes back to how you're selling your services. And I mean that's something certainly we need to talk about too. Is as wet as this spring has been, and you guys have been busting butt trying to keep it cut, and then maybe you're two days late because of rain getting somewhere, and then it cost you labor to get it back in shape because of the rain, and the height of the grass and it being wet and you're going slower. Well, now when it heats up a little bit and things slow down just a little bit, maybe it's your turn. It's your turn to be able to speed up a little bit. When I say speed up, just in the time to get the job done. It's going to be a little bit easier now on you. It's going to be a little bit easier now on us here at Wayne's Lawn Service. And, you know, don't think that, hey, man, well, we're going to skip that property 100%. I mean, again, that goes back to how the job was sold. But that's why personally, many years ago, and what you guys have heard me talk about a lot is that's why we don't sell on a per cut basis. Because when you're selling on a per cut basis pricing model, the problem with that is you're generally, you meaning the contractor, you're generally never getting the opportunity to get the easy mow in. In other words, when it's wet, as long as it's been, grass has been growing pretty daggone good on most markets this spring. We've had a commitment of labor to keep those jobs in decent shape. And now that it's going to slow down a little bit, if you're going to start skipping or your customer wants to skip, when is it your turn? That's what I want you to ask yourself. When is it your turn to get some of that labor expense back? And if you're charging on a per cut or a per visit basis, you got to make sure that you're winning some of those. And, for a long time, we weren't set up properly with our contracts. And I'm not saying go out and mow a yard when you hadn't had rain for 2 months or a month or whatever, or no irrigation. I'm just saying it depends on how you've sold the job and what type of jobs are you looking for. If you're looking for a whole lot of, I don't want to pull a name out because somebody think I'm picking on them, but I don't just somebody that wants to set the frequency for you rather than and the price. When a customer's setting price and frequency, you as a contractor better understand how to calculate cost. Know that, hey, if you're going to reduce frequency in the summer because it's getting easier and it's going to be faster for you to get the job done, then when are you going to make up that extra time in the spring? that you had invested in that job. So we got to be careful on how we're doing our billing, and we're not getting into that today. But I just wanted to kind of flip that light switch a little bit up and down to just get that thought process going a little bit. That hey, don't don't be thinking it's time to start skipping and or uh, reducing frequency. Let that grass slow down a little bit if you're going to change, or maybe you've got your contracts written to where you're just selling your services for mowing, let's say, based on a set number of services per year. It goes back to what I talk about quite a bit on, you know, frequency and price has to be established before you can give a price. In other words, you can't just say, hey, it's going to be $40 a week or 50 a week or whatever the amount is, 200 a week. Doesn't matter what the amount is. But you can't let the customer dictate what that frequency is going to be, because what's their frequency going to be is, in some cases, is okay, well, in the spring, I want to cut weekly, but in the summer, when it slows down, I want you to skip a week. Well, when you're skipping a week, that obviously is cash flow that's not generated for your company. And if the cash flow is not generated, that means the expenses aren't being taken care of. And if the expenses aren't being taken care of, that means the profit's being adjusted down. So we just got to think about how we're pricing those jobs. And speaking of pricing jobs, if you want to get a little help on that, this Wednesday night, in the profit circle, we're actually going to be talking about how to calculate cost per hour of operation for your company. We're going to go over some cost sheets, not just for mowing, but for some other services. So you're comfortable and have the confidence in bidding your jobs and knowing that if I'm going to do a weekly cut for Miss Smith during the spring, but in the summer go to an ever 10-day cycle, or whatever that frequency may change to, how to come up with an average cost over the course of the season that's going to take into account the additional labor that you have in the spring, so how to average those costs out. So, and that's where, quite honestly, we made a big mistake for a lot of years at Wayne's Lawn Service. So, very important, very, very important. So, I always like to just talk about it for a little bit when we hit that first heat wave. But hey, make sure your pricing's good, make sure your contract's set up right, and not that you're going to go out and change everything now because of it. But what you can do is look at it now and say, hey, what do I need to change? Know that any successful business, any profitable business, any business that's been in business any length of time, and I'm talking about 10 plus years, you've had enough time and you've been through enough cyclical events, weather related cyclical events, as well as other things, to understand the trials and tribulations of running a small business. And when you're doing things like that, you get a little smarter in how you do billing on things, and not just from a mowing standpoint. It can be fertilization and weed control. We get a lot of pressure in the spring, fertilization and weed control, but we've also had a lot of rain, right? That's what we've been talking about. So we've had a lot of additional weed pressure. Um, and last year was a good year for even us, like WLS. We reevaluated how we were going to do bed maintenance, and we've changed bed maintenance this year, and we've had better control on our bed maintenance. Yeah, we had to change some pricing and how we were doing some things, and different product choices that we went with to try to see different results. And so far, it's panned out for us better this year than it had in the past, because last year was fairly wet early on as well. So it's that whole thing of, we got to be willing to make some changes. And are you willing to make changes? Or do you sit back and you think, oh God, I can't do that. If I do that, I'm going to lose a lot of my customers. So as we get into the summer, and Brett just was talking about it. I'm glad to hear that, Mike, because I know we talked a lot last year about it. Bed maintenance. Mike said he's made quite a bit of adjustment on his bed maintenance too. I mean, it can be one of the most challenging things we do within our businesses is the bed maintenance and how we provide that service, how we charge for that service, and what the frequency of that service is going to be, and how on your proposals, like let's talk about that for a second. It doesn't just say we'll do bed maintenance. Hey, specify, hey, bi-weekly, once a month, or whatever that frequency is that you and the customer agree on. Make sure that that's clearly defined in your proposal, and your pricing has done that. So yes, indeedy. Let's see. Darren says, yes, I certainly will. Certainly will. Um, we got our Darren's been working. Asked me to mention this, and actually, great idea, Darren. Thanks, man. I'm not going to say we. Darren has been really putting a lot of time and effort into changes on our Turfs Up Radio website. Uh, so check it out. Check it out. We've got a lot of new segments posted on the front page. We've got traffic on the turf is back up there. We've got all the shows that are listed there. Easy access to get to your favorite shows. The Equip Expo's coming up. There's Equip Expo stuff up there. So be sure to check our website out. Turfs Up. Excuse me. Give me just a short second to get a little water on that, if you would. But that went down the wrong way. But turfsupradio.com, very simple. Check it out if you haven't seen it for a while. Darren has put a whole lot of time and effort into it. And when you click on it, you're going to think, oh, man, it looks a whole lot the same. But look at it and see, all the changes that have been made on it. And if you've got any input as far as what you would like, you can certainly use that contact link there on the website. Let us know that, hey, man, I really like the changes you made, or be cool if this was on there. So we're always open to your ideas and your input on, what you want and what you like. So certainly check that out for us and give us your feedback. Craig said it's a happy, hot, humid, miserable Monday in the Carolina. He's down around the Charlotte area for you guys that don't know Craig, but it is. It's going to be, I think our heat indices are supposed to be around 105 area. So take care of yourself for sure. And then make sure that your people are taken care of. And know, again, like I said, we brought it up that production's not the same in this kind of heat. And I forgot how many states they said we're going to have excessive heat warnings, and that's different for different states. It's kind of like winter storm warnings. It's different criteria, but the reality of it is it's hot, it's humid. Stay safe and keep yourself safe, and drink plenty of liquids. I think Daniel mentioned the other day that be sure to keep the electrolytes up as well. So. Um, not water's great, and Daniel's always talking about drinking water. But when you're doing a whole lot of sweating, you need to replace more than just the liquid, and those electrolytes are very, very important. So, welcome back to Profit Time here on Turfs Up Radio, and I want to give a big shout out to all of our listeners that we have. Certainly, all of everybody in general. But I appreciate the diverse group of business owners that I know listen to my show here, Profit Time. And I certainly do appreciate each and every one of you all. And stay in with us. We love it. We love the diversification of all these small businesses being involved here on my show and on Turfs Up Radio, and listening to Turfs Up Radio, because there's just a whole lot of knowledge that we like to share. And help you with your company for sure.
Hi, we're Big and Rich.
And I'm Cowboy Troy.
And you're listening to Turfs Up Radio, your industry, your station. Break it up.
Big and rich. Oh my goodness. I'll tell you what. It's awesome. It's awesome. Like I said, there you go. Big and Rich did us a shout out, and they they were here for the expo, and just like I said, it's just a diverse group of people that are involved with Turfs Up Radio. And we certainly like having you guys listening to us. Darren Gruner is going to be on. He's going to do the landscape hero. He's going to explore the global policies and corporate sustainability in the landscape industry. So stay tuned. Stay tuned. He's going to talk about it from an equipment pricing standpoint, innovations, and I mean that's a constant in our industry, right? I mean, it seems like every day you're seeing more and more innovations for the industry, things to help us more efficient. Because like Daniel talks about all the time, we each get 24 hours a day. I mean, God put that into play. We have 24 hours each and every day. And the reality of it is, what are you doing to make the best use of those 24 hours? And don't look at equipment and say, "Oh my God, that costs too much." It's no, what can you make with that equipment? And that's some of what we're going to talk about in the profit circle as well. Is the innovations, the equipment. It's not always about the cost of the equipment. So Darren's reaching out on that as well, and long-term operational strategies that you put into your business. And when you say long-term, I mean that's going to be a different time frame for each people, but it goes back to not just thinking about today. You're thinking about tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, so it's going to be, or it's got to be, let's put it that way. It's not going to be, it's got to be. You got to be open-minded to innovations, systems to have in place. What are some different strategies that are going to make you different and better than your competitor? So, lot going on. So, he's got some information coming to you that I know you're going to love from Kubota, Fairway, and just a whole lot more. The thing about tips that you get from Darren Gruner and guys with the experience is they're tips that you can implement within your business because they've got the experience to say, hey, this will work. And you don't have to buy software to make it work, for an example. It's things that they've learned over the years, that simple changes and that you can put and implement within your business to get your operational efficiencies in order and keeping things going in the right direction. So, Landscape Hero, stay tuned. Going to be up and at it and hard at it. And you guys, I appreciate you listening to my show as always. And stay tuned to Turfs Up Radio each and every day, all the time. And remember, profit is not the dirty word. We'll see you next time.